Hey everybody, it's Jillian. So somebody asked me yesterday, you think the virus is man-made? And I'm just like, okay, it doesn't matter. I mean, I didn't really answer the question because it really doesn't matter. It's all speculative. Here's the thing. This is when it comes to thermodynamics, things happen for a reason. Nothing is spontaneous. There's always an original aggressive catalyst to a reaction. So there's initial action and there's a reaction. And then that goes down the line. Action, reaction, action, reaction. Then everything becomes reactions from the original action. And then where do you find the origination point? The fulcrum, the initial cause of action to cause then reaction after reaction after reaction. Well, we can go all the way back to the beginning of time and say, okay, viruses were like one little single-celled bacteria being controlled by a virion. But where did that virion come from? Well, if you look out there in the galaxies, in the universe, and on the perimeter of the universe, there's all these different viral DNAs. And then you have all the black holes, the galaxies, the stars, the planets, stars at different life cycles, like red star, yellow giant, red giant, neutron stars, supernovas, nebulas. Okay, excuse me. So anyways, if you want to know if this virus is man-made, everything is made by man at this point. I mean, yes, we are subject to the space weather, like coronal mass injections or coronal mass ejections, and we have lava and volcanoes subject to space weather, and there's definitely a connection between outer space and our geography. But I mean, I'll say this: no matter what, we all have been bioengineered by an original source, and the bioengineering had specific programming throughout the ages, and there's different intentions. And so there are definitely higher forms of intelligence that started mankind, and we are slowly becoming more advanced. And so knowledge is becoming the way of the world. Knowledge is power, and with knowledge comes strategy. And so it doesn't matter where these viruses come from, because they're all offshoots of an original virus that is either on Earth or is outer space that came here, like on a panspermia type situation. And so now you must understand what viruses are and look at it from the micro to the macro, which is what I'm doing. I mean, I do these transmissions every day to really reinforce the information, because I need to be able to write it and speak about it as if it was just like the second skin on my body, as if it was just like the air that I breathe. It's like a form of my own brainwashing. Not saying that I'm doing anything that's negative, but it definitely makes you understand how data and programming get uploaded into devices, and humans are like a device. You could say that the brain isn't really a computer. It is and it isn't. It's made of frequencies and information, and you can do data dumps and you can do data uploads. But it's not just a computer. I mean, because there's definitely consciousness. We have feelings, we have thoughts, we have the ability to take on, other people's programming, other people's emotions, and then also release it as well. We're not stuck with other entities' thoughts and feelings and everything. We can create our own, okay? And so not everything in a human's brain is just strictly programming, garbage in, garbage out. We can then also create our own experiences, and that comes from the consciousness of the universe and the viruses that have the data and the programming, and there's hybrid types. So when you go from the micro to the micro is the tiny little virions that instruct a cell to do what it needs to do to replicate or to disappear or go through apoptosis. And you have the macro of the human, who is full of different types of viruses that will then express a type of behavior, a phenotypical characteristic, And so, but someone had to put those together, right? Someone had to, as far as the viruses that give us this type of physique. Yeah, someone did way back a long time ago, and then we've been innovated through biotech for many, many years. And so I don't necessarily want to be like, when you say something is man-made, it is the implication that someone purposely did something to then destroy. And maybe that is, maybe that isn't, but there's also Mother Nature keeping the balance, and it's working through mankind, who is then trying to innovate a population who is slowly and accelerating their decline because it's like so much reproduction on bodies that are not evolving. Yeah, people glitch. Things glitch. And so there comes a point when there must be some kind of upgrade to the overall society. Forget the individual human for a second. Overall society needs to upgrade. Okay? I mean, you know it. We all know it, that there are things that are going on out there in society that we're just tired of dealing with, whatever it is. I don't care what it is. If you're tired of dealing with somebody else's behavior impacting your world, at some point there must be an upgrade to society. And so viruses have an innovation, have a type of programming that will upgrade, or the energy in those viruses will downgrade. And so when you have different hybrid viruses that are fused together, that work together, so when they go through a human body and it picks up DNA along the way, and then the person sneezes or coughs or mucuses up and releases that programming, it gets caught in the wind, and someone else takes on not only the original programming that gave that space for development and innovation and evolution, but now they're picking up the other person's programming that mutated that virus. And then that virus compounds and it compounds and it compounds. And so, yeah, the biotech tries to control the compound innovation in a virus that is like a snowball effect. Because that's what viruses are. They kind of go through a snowball effect. And so that one little virus that was this small, then when it goes through a bunch of people, it becomes bigger and bigger and bigger, and it's like this and like this and like this. All of a sudden, this virus is so advanced and it's so huge. Not to say it's literally this huge, but it's so much data that when a person who is really immunocompromised, okay, will take on that much aggressive data, and they don't have a defense system that's helping them like mediate that data upload, that data will destroy them. And that's the best way I can explain why everyone at this point with this new virus really needs to figure out if they need to reconsider hanging out in large crowds, because that's a massive amount of data and a massive amount of energy that is more than what some people can handle. Now, I'm relatively balanced. I'm relatively healthy. I feed all viruses. Yesterday, I felt the rush of the viral energy. I felt my sugar dropping a little bit, so I was eating, like, I was so starving. I ate like cheese, and I ate some bread and some meat, and also ate my dinner. And but I definitely was very amped up. And so that viral energy from being exposed to Walmart for maybe like an hour, and it was crowded in Walmart, okay? I got a major data upload, like major, and I felt it. Like, I seriously felt it. So I don't imagine a person who is weak and who is immunocompromised would be able to handle that type of exposure. And so if, I mean, there's things that I have to do. I have to go shopping for food. I don't really want to do delivery, or I could do the pickup, but I don't mind just going and getting my food, okay? I like to shop for myself and pick out what I want and not having to worry about substitution or anything else. And so I do that. So that's my exposure, at least, every couple weeks, my exposure to my environment. And so, I picked that up, but that's about as far as, I'll take it right now, because that's a lot of recovery. Now, usually if I don't want to deal with that kind of recovery, because it was crowded on a Monday, then I'll go really early in the morning. I'll go to Starbucks like at 5 in the morning, get their coffee, and then go to Walmart or wherever and shop when there's nobody around. And then that makes life easier. You don't have to deal with people, and you don't have to deal with so much stuff, and all just the viruses. And so, but I mean, I can handle it. I mean, it's not like I can't handle it. I just have to sniff, and I have to and I have to feed the viruses. Maybe I'll have a weird dreams. I mean, I don't really have any weird dreams. I just had dreams, but nothing super weird or out of this world. And, and then I'm fine. And but I know the indicators of what it feels like to take it on new viral programming. And so it's the energy, it's the hunger, it's, even the irritability. And so yeah, this is going to be about understanding, no matter what, therapeuticized or not, it is staying away from large crowds. Like my husband's out there and he does his job, but he's like a single person on a truck. So he's not around a bunch of, large crowds. He's around a bunch of stuff from people's homes, but he's not around large crowds. So even though he takes on viruses from, stuff that's out there, he's not around a bunch of people. So yeah, he brings home minimal viruses, but not like when you're actually in a crowd of people where you're getting the live versions that are right there in real time. And so I've conditioned myself to just like being at home, not wanting to really just go out there and mix with a bunch of people because, yeah, it's unpredictable. But viruses have their own call signs. They have their own algorithms. They're like data. Like I was working in data accountability, back when I was in Sacramento. I worked for a charter school, and I learned a lot about data. There's specific, algorithms and well, I don't say frequencies, but unique identifiers. Just very specific stuff with data and extrapolating data and compiling data and put it together and creating reports from like Excel or Word or PowerPoint or Access, and then running reports from a database that has all the different fields, and then you're going and doing your own kind of like little database. And so I get data, and data is like viruses. I mean, that's what computers are. That's why Bill Gates does what he does. He understands data. He understands viruses. He understands people. It's not that difficult to understand the human body, and that each component of the human body can be coded with a specific algorithm or frequency. And then even viruses can be coded with algorithms, frequencies, social security numbers, which not literally, but each person is a constellation or a compilation of viruses that have their own social security number in America. Now, in the UK, I don't know what your identifier is, like John Oakes. I don't know what your unique identifiers are out there. As far as a person, not so much like a phone number. Like phone numbers can be unique identifiers, but they're also can be easily thrown away and taken on another, phone number. But your social security number and your driver's license number is your unique identifier. And so viruses have their own unique identifiers. And even though they may be very similar to other viruses, they still have some kind of frequency that's a little bit different than the original prototype. And that's like twins. Twins, even though they came from the same egg that split into now two different things, they still have their own, they still have something that's unique about them, though it's not very noticeable. But they would have two different, something very subtle, very, very just, small as far as their uniqueness, if at all. And so anyways, so viruses definitely do have different frequencies. And, what's a frequency? Frequency is like, it's a type of energy that's given off from that. It's like if you can turn food into frequency. Oh God, I mean, everything can be turned into a frequency once it's like once a device is able to pick up that frequency. And so people are huge frequencies. You can tell just by listening to people that their frequencies are, and that's viral frequency as well. But every individual virus, especially when it comes to like an evolution, also has a specific frequency. And that's how they're able to create biotech and technology around promoting specific frequencies in people or attacking certain frequencies. And so that's why some people who got like the COVID and they got a therapeutic, they had a lot more symptoms from that exposure to that therapeutic. Because yes, that therapeutic was attacking the frequency that already was evolving them or evolve them. And so they felt all this stuff. But here's the thing. So the person now has this mRNA programming that now is programmed to anytime it gets in contact with a bunch of a specific frequency, it then creates antibodies and it activates the immune system to go after that frequency and attack it. The flip side of it is they still are going to suffer from the thermodynamics, from that energy that they probably can't afford, and it'll still deplete them. But the other side of it is someone like on the Jejus who may get exposed or take on a therapeutic. Yeah, it's going to go and attack every single frequency that programming is made to attack. And so you're going to be sneezing, coughing, because I was exposed to people who have been therapeuticized, and I've been exposed to the pollen that has the viral, whatever it is. And so my body was responding by, the headaches. It's like being taken over by an entity that's trying to attack your evolution or trying to evolve you. And that's the thing, is people don't really know the difference. And so they're kind of like in this biotechnological mess. But that's what symptoms are, is the body something is trying to take over the body. And so you still have a predominant programming, and you will fight for yourself, literally, and your cells. And you will then tame whatever dragon that was allowed into you through a vector or through just exposure. And so that's what people are in for when they finally do a vector and they've already gone through different levels of variance, because it is going to be a programming that you're going to want to do a waterfall, a few of them, just to get it out and kind of tame the beast, and then activate your immune system to be able to go after that specific entity. So yeah, viruses are very, they are intelligence, and they have call signs, and they have smells around them. They are everything. They are what is in the horror movies when they talk about possession. Like those tumors that have hair and skin and nails and all that stuff and eyes. They're growing cells in a lab that have 2 eyes already. Okay, and I think I saw something, through my newsfeed, that some lab was growing a cell that developed eyes. And people were just like, what the heck? And, then all the Bible thumpers were like, oh my God, oh my God. And so that was kind of interesting. But yeah, all the horror movies around possession, whether it's The Exorcist or, the old ways where it was like a Mexican exorcism type of stuff, or, Hispanic exorcism, where a person's like throwing up, hair or all this other stuff. And you're just like, that's the extreme version of being possessed by an entity. And yeah, having babies is another kind of possession. Having a baby, yeah. I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but being pregnant is creating a life that's, yes, inside of the uterus, and then, then you pass on your genetics to your offspring. But then there's the other side of it, where you're being possessed by a bunch of viruses that creates tumors, that it's almost like growing a twin, a clone. Now that's the other side of it, which is really, really creepy. And that's the stuff you see in the horror movies, or on, the Ghost Adventures, where you're talking to spirits that some people have access to. And someone like, Zach Bagans and all of his crowd, they're taking on all this energy, and they're aging. Like, I watched the show, since I met my husband. And when we first met, I never really watched them, like Ghost Adventures, but he got me into it back in 2010. And we started to watch on and off for the last 10 years, right, our marriage. And now I'm looking at Zach Bagans, and he's aging because all that viral transducers and using all those different, I don't know, what is it, plasma reading meters or something like that to find the energy, that's sucking the life out of him. And then him taking on spirits, going into very highly electrical environments that experience a lot of chaos and death and destruction, and all these spirits that are restless, that wanting to possess something that is weak. It does suck the life out of people. And so that's what cancer is. It's like being possessed. That's what tumors are basically like a possession. And that's why people get things like cut out, because it's like a starting of like a clone, or not even a clone, maybe like a new entity trying to take over. So there's some very spiritual stuff about cancer and disease and symptoms. And I hear, like, when I'm listening to TV and I'm sleeping, and I hear like these words like symptoms are going to take over. You take this, it stops the symptoms from taking over. You're like, taking over? That almost sounds like someone's trying to come in and possess you. And yeah, symptoms are like something's trying to possess, and you're fighting the symptoms. It's evolution, yes, because you are evolving. You are strengthening your will to freaking live. That's the reason why you fight the symptoms and you don't suppress the energy. I mean, you could try to, but then you suppress yourself. You have to strengthen your body. You got to strengthen your resolve to fight for your freaking life. And every single time you get chemotherapy and radiation and getting things taken out, sucked out, and you're taking pills, powder, supplements, and detoxes, you are destroying your body's ability to fight off infection, possession, cancer, aging, degrading, all of that. And so that's all physics too. Physics is all about different possessive energy, one more influential than the other. And viruses are the intelligent possessive energy. And so you have to really you must give respect to the viruses and understand that they are the intelligence. And how you respond to viruses is going to be the difference between your longevity or your shortgevity. Okay? I don't think that's a word, but I made it up. But yeah, I mean, I have a lot of respect for viruses. And so if they're man-made, whatever. We were made in our creator's image, and our creator knew how to put in different DNA together. We had the environment to handle the adaptation. We have uracil, which is a acid that's made from cytosine, because we have adenine, guanine, cytosine, what's the other one? Uracil. Oh, gattaca, thymine. Okay, and then uracil is found in the RNA, and that allows for the adaptation. That allows for new information to come in and help us adapt to new and changing environments. And so then that specific algorithm in the uracil that was able to take on new programming can also then be the predominant like DNA genetic marker and become a prototype, an original prototype, and then also take on other adaptation evolution. And so someone made us to be able to adapt to this environment. We're not supposed to be like this rigid, stuck, stayed in a cured state of decline. We were made to adapt to the changing environment. And they're saying that all this heat and all this climate change, which is from catalysts that are intentional, okay, or it could be posed as we're going through a life cycle. But they were saying, oh yeah, the dinosaurs, they didn't die from the asteroids, they died from climate change. Well, the asteroids hit the planet then went through an uproar, all the stuff went into the atmosphere, changed the climate, and the dinosaurs couldn't survive it. The volcanoes were erupting, the sun was blocked out for however many years because of all the ash in the air. So yeah, it was from the asteroids that changed the climate. But now with all this heat that is going on, then they're seeing the animals start evolving. And their ears are getting bigger, their beaks are getting bigger, their feet are getting bigger. We are going to be evolving to the changes of our climate. And so we're all going to be going through some kind of evolution. And it's going to be painful. Yeah, I'm not going to be kidding about that. But all the earthquakes, I mean, I looked up last night, what would cause an earthquake? Well, I mean, I think there's definitely a relationship with the sun and the amount of heat it gives off, the geomagnetic storms, and I'm sure it affects the plate tectonics. And so if we understand how powerful the sun is to our geological movements and the electrons. I was looking up electron depletion, which is like, when there isn't any kind of electronic activity in one area, it's kind of like in a stagnant form, which I haven't really studied that too deep, but there is that. But anyways, then that direct energy weapons can be used to create disturbances. And so, yes, direct energy weapons can be used to, create more energy in the ocean and heat up the ocean and give more energy to hurricanes and tropical storms and make things hotter. Direct energy weapon can melt different things. I mean, so now that you know how powerful thermodynamics is and sun and all the different electricity, and that electricity can cause cell replication, because you hear about if you're next to a transformer, cause cancer, right? Well, that's no different than being around a lot of electricity, viral transducers, Wi-Fi. I'm not saying that the Wi-Fi and transformers are bad, but you have to feed the energy. Now, am I going to sit next to a power line transformer? No. But if I am in any vicinity of power lines or high transformers, then you have to adapt to that atmosphere. You have to feed the body. You have to really have a lot of covalent bonding, because all that ionic energy is going to take away substance. It's going to take away intelligence. And so that's why you have to keep feeding the body with everything. So if you don't want to keep having to keep up with the energy in your environment, literally, then you move further away from power lines that have transformers that are right next to you, and you lessen the amount of energy. Not that you're going to get away from it altogether, but that's no different than taking yourself away from a large crowd and going to a small crowd. You're lessening the energy. Okay, that's like anything, when you want to have more peace in your life, you take away the amount of people that you used to hang out with all the time because you want more peace in your life, okay? And that's the thing, that's what peace is lessening the amount of aggressive energy or energy in overall. So that way you can then bring in the energy that you want and utilize it to your benefit, and you're not subject to something else's energy, whether it's a transformer, whether it's a crowd of people, whether it's somebody else. That you're now able to control the energy in your environment. And that's what it comes down to with the jade juice, is you're actually starting the war in your body so you can feed it and get rid of the stuff, the excess energy, and then you start picking and choosing the type of energy pieces that you want in your life. So that way, immortality isn't like a pipe dream. That you now have control over the energy in your environment on some level. You're not 100% control. But you have more control than not. More control than most people out there. Who are just like, I don't care. I don't believe in that stuff. Da, da, da. So I really get it. Boy, do I get it. And, yeah. All right. You guys have a good day. I'm going to drink my chocolate coffee. This is like happiness in a can. It's like drinking a chocolate bar. Oh, so good. All right. Thanks, guys. Talk to you later. Bye.